Welcome back to the Reset with Sean Tucker. I am your host. This is episode 13. What do you do on holiday when people tend to find it a time and a place where you just totally switch off, you totally relax? When you have goals that are important to you, when you are working on your health, when you are working on your business, when you are going through growth phases in your life, in your relationships, whatever it is, do you just throw it all out of the window and forget about it when you go on holiday? Or do you try and keep some structure? For me personally, what I found that works is keeping some structural form. So right now, you're probably noticing the last week or so, I've been in a totally different location. That is because I'm actually not in my home studio. I'm not even in Australia. I'm actually in Singapore right now. I am on holiday. This for me is my first ever working holiday. So I'm giving it directly to you from the source. I haven't lost my structure. I have given up some things, of course, because you can't be so rigid in your routines and your structure that it depletes the experience that you have on holiday. I see a holiday as a chance to really take yourself out of an environment and be able to see the environment that you are in very clearly and identify what is stopping you from growing. So it gives you a chance to detach or create a bit of space between yourself and where you were to where you're headed. When you create that space, you're able to see things a lot more clearly. So I'm all for routine. I'm all for structure, but I'll give you a live example of what I haven't been able to do. Firstly, I haven't really been able to dedicate my workout time as much as I would like. Number one is because I brought my Olympic gymnastic rings. I brought my gymnastic rings with me so that I can do my pull-ups training at a local park, but I haven't been able to use it. Today is really the only day that I can confidently go outside and use it. And yes, it is an excuse, right? Because if I look at the data, the reason why I haven't been able to do it is it's been raining pretty much every single time when I have made it so that I could go out and do it. So the time that I've had in the day, I've been working on my business. I've been doing all the family arrangements with Chinese New Year. I've been, yeah, keeping to my priorities. Not to say that my health priorities have fallen off, but just to say that they've changed. They're a little bit more flexible because I am in a totally different structure, a different routine to what I am back in Australia. Daughter here with me, and I have that side of the family, my in-laws, where I'm going to celebrate with them for Chinese New Year. So we're at a different place pretty much every single night. I don't know necessarily what I'm eating. I just know that there's probably a lot of food to consume, which is both a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because when you have a lot of options, when you have too much flexibility, it can really stretch what you put in yourself. Right? It can increase the amount of consumption that you. It's the same when it comes to time. It's the same when it comes to food. It's the same when it comes to media, like social media, computer games, whatever it is, right? Even relationships, even consumption of alcohol. People tend to overconsume alcohol on holiday. I have been drinking a little bit of alcohol, but it's been in the times of bonding with some of the family, right? So I don't normally drink back home. And if I do, it's usually in the presence of family. It's normally through connection. We're bonding over a drink or two. It's not something that I do every single day. So what I would bring to your attention or awareness is when you go on holiday, it's important to have some flexibility, but it's also important to have a little bit of structure. And this structure, I like to think of priorities, right? So when you know what is important to you, well, you make it non-negotiable. You make it so that you're always going to tick off those things in the box or on at the end of the day, they have to be done. So for me, this holiday is really about keeping consistent with my daily podcast, being able to reach out to people and build connection through social media, and also make sure that I'm showing up for the family events, being there with my daughter and my wife. So it's not just all the responsibility placed on my wife. So having really clear priorities is rule number one. Rule number two is where you can't do something, right? So the example that I gave was I can't really, when it's torrential, tropical rain and it's a rainstorm, going out and doing my pull-ups at a park on my Olympic gymnastic rings is probably not the most ideal situation, right? I could still do it. But another reason, I'm just putting the reasons out there right now, is I don't want my rings to get destroyed. I want to keep them in the highest quality I can for the longest period of time. And I know that that type of wood, when it gets wet, it damages it. It causes it to bloat. It causes it to basically break. It destroys it, in short. I do not want to do that. And yes, once again, it's an excuse because I could just go and use the pull-up bar. And yeah, get saturated in the process. But I guess another key thing to point out is it is another excuse, right? Because I could have done it when it wasn't raining earlier in the morning, when instead I chose to focus on the business tasks. So it's really important to know what those priorities are. And then if you can't follow them, adjust them so that at least you're transferring that energy or intention that you have to somewhere else. So for me, I've been doing more yoga in the morning. It prepares my body, it gets me ready for the day, and it makes me feel good. And who doesn't want to feel good? So no, I'm not doing my calisthenics workouts, but what I am doing is I'm following some of the processes that I've been initiated into, and I'm doing them more on a daily basis. So it's just a matter of transferring that priority, waking up a little bit earlier and getting it done. And that's really it. It's as simple as that. When you know yourself, when you know your priorities, when you know what makes you feel good, you'll do them. When it comes to having really strict routines around what you eat and what you consume on holiday, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but what works for me is having flexibility, having a structure around, okay, I know I'm probably going to gain a little bit of weight. I'm fine with that. So let's just enjoy without over consuming things that will do damage to me in the long term. So I'm okay with gaining a little bit of body fat. But what I'm not okay with is drinking copious amounts of alcohol to make me feel intoxicated and not knowing what the later consequences of binge drinking are to my liver and to my overall health and well-being. So I create a bit of flexibility around the food intake and the alcohol, but I don't overconsume what doesn't serve me. And for me, I'm a big food eater. I love food. Food is one of those things that I enjoy, and I love to, I guess, connect over food as well. Because yeah, if you don't have a full belly, how can you serve, right? Especially if it's being catered and you're actually nourishing yourself. So one thing I like to do back home is I love to cook. I love to cook for the family. I love to cook really healthy, nutritious food for them. And here I haven't really had to cook. I haven't had to cook at all. So taking a break and using that energy in something else, for me, it's been my business has been the thing that sort of brought me to the point where I can say, cool, I'm not going to guilt trip myself for not getting stuff that I said I was going to do done. And that's it. It's really important to not carry the weight of not doing something you said you were going to do. Because you probably will feel guilty if you had the intention to follow this plan and you didn't follow it. All right, but that guilt doesn't serve you. So in summary, know your priorities, know where you can have flexibility in what's important to you. And if your goals are big enough, you'll pretty much stick to them as long as they are important to you. So if you found today's episode helpful, I encourage you to share it with one friend, one person. Just share it with them. Share what you got value out of. Give that to them. Say, hey, this is what I got value from this podcast, listening to this, and just share it with them. Because that's how we grow. That's how we grow organically. And that's, in my opinion, is the greatest form of growth. So that's it for today. I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Thanks for tuning in.